4 years later, since the last time a Wimbledon match really was this big of a mystery going into it, who's going to win. Really hard to pick a winner. And devastating for me. 2019, I'm devastated because Djokovic wins. 2023, I'm devastated because Djokovic loses. You can't make this stuff up. Sports is a weird thing, isn't it? A couple things on Carlos Alcaraz. Incredible. One thing he did right, this. As Novak Djokovic said, Alcaraz is kind of a mix of the big three. And obviously, some Rafa is in there. If you were a Joker face and you were hoping that he would cramp up, like in the French Open, Carlos, pickle juice is the secret. Take a look. Carlos Alcaraz obviously doesn't like it because look at this. Look at that face he makes. It's gross. But he was willing to do whatever it took to beat the Joker. There were three big things in this match that will always stand out in my memory. Number one, and this is where Djokovic, I think, lost it. Obviously, Djokovic lost in the fifth set. He lost the match there. But I think the match was really lost in the second set. With a 2-sets-to-love lead, there's no way Djokovic loses this match, you would say. You would think. Take a look at this. The King, who's won 15 straight major tiebreaks in a row. He goes into Wimbledon, goes into this final 6-0 in Wimbledon in tiebreaks. Alcaraz 2-1. I mean, who would have thought that Djokovic was going to lose at that point? I know Carlos was playing a lot better, but still you thought this is where Djokovic is going to clamp down and maybe the nerves are going to come back. Obviously, nerves were a big factor in the first set for Alcaraz. Then there's this. The 6-1 set, the third set. I think this was also kind of mental. Second set, I think Djokovic loses mental. He misses those backhands when he's got a chance to take a set. When he gives Carlos 6-all, he misses another one. When he gives Carlos the set point. And then this one is mental. Have you ever, this is from Chris O'Cleary, the New York Times tennis writer, has there ever been a 6-1 set that lasted an hour? It was an exactly 60-minute long set. Take a look at this. This is why 27 minutes, almost half of that set, was the one game where Djokovic was battling to hang on in there and not let Alcaraz run away with that set. After that game went, this set was gone, and Djokovic was able to regroup and change things up in that fourth set. Here's a big stat. Well, let me get the three things I'll remember from the match. Obviously, that very long game, a half-an-hour game, where it was just a battle of wills between the two, and physically, I think Carlos outlasted Djokovic in that game. It was more of an attacking, make your serve, get inside the baseline, and make your first shot. Your third shot. Your shot after your serve +1 is what they used to say all the time. Haven't heard it as much lately, but it's still very relevant in today's game. Anyways, serve +1, focus more in the fourth set, resetting from that third set. But in the third set, Joker just tried to outlast Carlos, and it looked like the younger guy had more energy reserve. Which is interesting, right? We've never felt like anyone's going to have more of an energy reserve than Djokovic, and then this 20-year-old guy looks like maybe he does. The third thing was that fifth set. I'm never going to forget that fifth set, and this is why. Look at what Kyrgios said here on Tennis Channel's Instagram. If somehow, if Novak can turn this around, I'm convinced he is not human. This is when he was down a break in the fifth set. I think we all expected Djokovic to win that fifth set. I mean, I don't want to speak for everyone. This Alcaraz, to that point, I was nervous wanting Djokovic to win going into that fifth set. Alcaraz, to that point, I think had proven that he belongs here and that he's going to be a serious contender. He can go 5 sets with Djokovic. But still, deep down, I'm thinking, how many times have we seen this before? Of course, Djokovic is going to find a way to win this fifth set. Even Nick Kyrgios, it didn't look too great the way Carlos was serving. And we're going to look at the stats. The most impressive thing about that fifth set is what Carlos did. And Djokovic says it in the press conference, too. We'll play some of the clips from the press conferences after the match. But if you look at the stats, the best set Carlos played as far as winners and unforced errors was that fifth set. That was the most winners he hit in the entire match, going set by set. So for him to bring his very best in that fifth set, and it's interesting to look at Djokovic's numbers, and again, we'll look more closely at this later in the show today, but if you look very closely at the numbers, I believe it's 3 winners on 3 unforced errors in that fifth set. So Djokovic was just there, not making any unforced errors, and considering, how hardcore the ball, how hardcore Alcaraz was playing, that ball coming at you with all that firepower from Alcaraz on the other side, only 3 unforced errors is pretty impressive from Djokovic. But those are the 3 things that stick out to me. The tiebreak, Djokovic, I think, should have won it. I think it was nerves. I think Djokovic got more nervous in that moment than Alcaraz did and didn't deal with the, staying in the present. He didn't deal with that as well as Alcaraz did, and that's where those backhand, unfortunately. You think of Djokovic, what's the one shot, if you have to pick one, to hit under pressure? Yeah, his forehand does more damage, but which one do you think is least likely? Let's say it's not you need to hit a winner or an aggressive shot that gets you ahead in the point. Let's just pick one of Djokovic's shots where you just need to keep it deep and stay in the point a little longer. The backhand, you would go with the backhand, right? It's always been the more solid side. I know he tries to hit forehands more now in his career and be more aggressive, but his backhand is the last shot you expect to break down. You'd go with overhead, right? Well, that's the shot that let him down in that tiebreak. What was the other thing I said? Oh, the very long game. We'll always remember that. Maybe it's not as important to the rest of the match, but I think it did show that maybe Djokovic, even the great Djokovic, is not going to be able to outlast at this point in his career, at this age. Maybe he's not going to be outlast just going, head to head, trying to outgrind, I guess is the word to use here. Djokovic is not going to outgrind Carlos Alcaraz, another factor of his game that is very Rafa-esque. And then, of course, that 5th set. Who will forget that? We all expected to see Carlos, especially when he served for it. And Djokovic said that in the press conference, too. That final game when Carlos serves out the match, Djokovic returned really well. And Carlos just elevated the level to find a way and win. Anyways, here's a stat that goes to back up what I was saying earlier. In that 4th set, you see that sets 1 through 3, Djokovic taking shots inside the baseline 31%. By set 4, 46% of the time. That was key, and I think he just wasn't able to do that so much in the 5th set where Alcaraz just really went, guns blazing right at him. And maybe some nerves, maybe some fatigue by the point of the 5th set for Novak Djokovic. But he obviously put up a great fight, and what a match. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I'm devastated for Novak Djokovic. I'm happy. Here's a great moment. Let me play you a clip, just in case I don't want anyone to accuse me of not liking Carlos Alcaraz. I think the guy's awesome. Okay, here it is. Here's a great clip from the match. This was probably my favorite moment. I've never seen that before. The window opens after the match is over to the broadcast booth, and my 3 favorite guys from the ESPN team, Johnny Mac, Patty Mac, and Chris Fowler. Carlos goes over there and shakes hands with him right after he hugs his coach and embraces his family, his son in the crowd, and his player box, all those people. Juan Carlos Ferrero, all those people. Anyways, I think that's great. I like Carlos Alcaraz, and this is definitely good for tennis. It's good to have a sport where it's no longer Djokovic is going to beat everyone. They're all losers. To we have a guy who's a real contender, and we don't know who's going to be able to win the matches. I know a lot of people are saying that it's over for Djokovic, that I've even heard some people say Djokovic will never win another major. And the thought did cross my mind, because this is not the place where you expect it to happen. If you're new to this sport, there's a reason why breakthroughs happened in other places, like the U.S. Open. Who's won the Australian Open besides Djokovic? Well, he's really locked that one down. And, of course, Rafa's locked down the French, but no one has found a way to win Wimbledon besides the Big Four in 20 years. Yeah, going back to 2003 when Roger wins his first major at Wimbledon. No one's won besides the Big Four. Roger, Rafa, Novak, and Murray. No one. It took 20 years for someone else to break through there. And the reason why is the grass is just a weird surface. The other surfaces are not like it at all. And for Carlos to come through and beat Djokovic here, I guess you can make a case that it's going to be harder at the Australian Open. If Carlos wins the U.S. Open, which he's going to be the massive favorite at the U.S. Open to defend his title, Djokovic has not succeeded at the U.S. Open in this latter stage of his career like he has at the other 3 majors, obviously. Probably would have won it in 2020 if he hadn't hit the line person in the throat. But, let's just throw that one out and just say, Joker hasn't done as well there. The matchup's not going to be as good on that surface. I think maybe Joker might like his chances better at the Australian Open. He has so much confidence there. And obviously, movement on the grass. I thought Sinner really did a great job challenging Djokovic, even though it was straight sets. It felt closer than I thought it would be. The biggest thing was I showed the graphics in the last video. Points in the middle, Sinner won the majority of. Points where he was, running out on the sides more, he lost the majority of. And a big part of that was Djokovic able to change directions with the backhand. A lot of players will just go cross-court backhand all the time, so you can kind of settle into your left side of the tennis court corner and hit some cross-court backhands and hit some inside-out forehands and try to change it up and do all kinds of stuff from that corner. Anyways, on the grass, you slide, you run out side to side, you're going to slip and slide more. It's easier to lose your footing and fall behind in the rally. Next thing you know, you put in a short ball. Djokovic is on top of it. He's attacking. The point is over. Like that. That wasn't really a factor here. Alcaraz was moving outstanding on the grass court. And one other thing, we'll play it again, but I'm kind of hitting all the major points right now. One other thing from the press conferences was Djokovic saying, Queen's Club really helped Alcaraz get ready for the grass, winning it before, a couple weeks ago. And that Wimbledon's slower than other grass court tournaments. So that even helped Alcaraz even more. Top of that, I'd say it was a very windy day. We heard Medvedev say when he lost in Indian Wells that if it hadn't been so windy, he'd be curious to see what happened because playing in the wind, just like with Rafa, Carlos has just got such a lively, spinny ball with so much power. He can spin that ball and keep it in even with crazy wind. It's always harder for someone who plays flatter like Medvedev or Djokovic. So that was a factor too. I wouldn't be surprised to see Carlos win Wimbledon again next year in a repeat of this final. And I certainly wouldn't be surprised to see Djokovic win next year. But at the Australian Open, it's faster and it's low bouncing. I think Djokovic might be able to use offense to not get stuck in longer rallies that he's losing to Alcaraz, where he can, dictate play with that serve +1. I think that might be a little easier for him with the faster court at the Australian Open. But there's no denying it. If Alcaraz can win next year at the Australian Open and beat Djokovic in the final, yeah, that might be the changing of the guard that people are talking about. And then you might actually be able to make a case that maybe we won't see Djokovic win another major. And whether you love Djokovic or hate him, I think we all should admit, if this is the end of Djokovic winning majors, it's a sad day for tennis, and it should be a sad day for all of us tennis fans.
¿Nombre?
Carlos Alcaraz,
¿Edad?
12 años.
¿Cuál sería tu sueño como profesional?
Ganar Roland Garros y Wimbledon.
¿Cuál es tu jugador favorito o tu ídolo?
Roger Federer.
Named Carlos, age 12, goal to win the French Open and Wimbledon. He's halfway there, folks. That's a great little clip. So much to like about Alcaraz. He's always smiling. He seems like the nicest guy. He works super hard. He's a combination of my heroes, the big three. And maybe a little bit of 1% Andy Murray in there, too. I saw a comment, great comment. I'm sorry I don't have it for you. But it said, maybe Djokovic fans will forgive you for your arrogance towards the Joker, Matt, but 1% Andy Murray fans will never forgive. We used to call 1% Andy Murray fans because we saw a poll of, like, who's your favorite tennis player. Like Djokovic has 30 and Nadal has 40 or whatever. I'm going to make a math mistake if I try to dice up that pie. Federer has a massive chunk, and then Andy Murray was 1%. I think it was something like that. It was either favorite or who do you think has the best chance to win this tournament. And Andy Murray was whatever it was. He was 1% in the poll. So I called Andy Murray a couple years ago. I called Andy Murray 1% Murray. Or maybe it was before a couple of years. I don't know. We've been doing Coffee Break Tennis a while. Quick little commercial. Great comment here. FTRALVES. How can one become a patron to your channel? Thanks for asking. You can go to this website right here, patreon.com/Coffee Break Tennis. Join the team if you like Coffee Break Tennis. You want to see me keep making videos. Help us out. Help keep us afloat. Help put food in Mr. Goat's little stomach. There we are. Tapping fingers there. That's what the page looks like if you go there. And you smart folks out there with high tennis IQs can figure it out from there, I am sure. We're going to play some clippies, but here's a scary one. Alcaraz could go on a real tear here and start winning everything, because if Alcaraz just beat Djokovic at Wimbledon, it's hard to imagine anyone beating Alcaraz anywhere. I didn't think anyone was going to beat him at the French Open except Djokovic. The U.S. Open, he's the favorite. I'm going to say Carlos wins, like right now. We'll see if he can stay healthy. Remember, he won the U.S. Open last year, and then he couldn't even play the Australian Open because of issues that he had. Speaking of 1% Murray, I saw Juan Carlos Ferrero said we used a little bit of Federer, a little bit of Djokovic, a little bit of Andy Murray. We tried to fit all that into Carlos Alcaraz's game to have him have success here at Wimbledon. Anyways, listen to this.
I thought that I wasn't ready, to beat Djokovic in 5 sets, an epic match like this, or stay good physically or good mentally, about 5 hours against a legend. Probably that I learned.
What'd you learn, Carlo?
Today, about myself today.
Oh, the question was, what did you learn about yourself today, Carlos? What did you learn about yourself today? We'll come back to that. By the way, some of you might think I'm happy that this guy holding this trophy here, this guy still has the record. And I saw some people were angry that I said, Federer is going to be second best at Wimbledon. Well, he's still first best according to the record books. 5 in a row is tied with Bjorn Borg. I didn't point that out last time. So sorry for the tennis historians and Chris Clary over at the New York Times. Anyways, take a listen to this one. Djokovic, great press conference. Very honest here. Djokovic, what do you regret the most? The 5th set, not being able to break, or missing 2 backhands in the tiebreak?
You fought hard to get back into that match, and I'm just wondering if you had to have a regret. Is it that
I love this journalist.
To get up a break in the 5th, or is it a tiebreak in the 2nd?
I would say tiebreak in the 2nd. The backhands that kind of let me down, to be honest. Set point, I missed the backhand. He did play, a backhand that was quite long in the court, and it had a little bit of a bad bounce. But I should not have missed that shot. And then on 6-all, again another backhand from middle of the court, in the net. Just 2 very poor backhands. It's mental,
man. The mentally toughest player ever.
The match shifted to his side. It turned around.
That was the match.
Djokovic
is
just
right.
Raised his level so much. In the 3rd, I wasn't myself for quite some time.
Part of that's.
I managed to regroup and regain the momentum midway in the 3rd set, in the 4th, and I felt that the momentum shifted to my side. So that was my chance. That was my opportunity, and that break point was. I think I played a really good point. Kind of set up that drive volley, and it was very, very windy today. So the wind took it to an awkward place where I couldn't hit the smash. I had to hit the drive volley, kind of falling back. And I saw him peripherically running to the opposite corner, and I wanted to
kind of 5th set he's talking about
with that drive volley, and I missed.
When you watch a long match like that, so many points stick out in your head, and then you start mixing them up. Let's go back to Alcaraz, but really quick before we go back to Alcaraz, as the Anglo-Saxons say. Before we go to Alcaraz, Djokovic admitted it right there, like, backhand let him down, and that shifted the momentum over to Carlos. Fully. 3rd set, wasn't myself, and Alcaraz started to really believe in that 3rd set. Of course, there was that one pivotal, very long game in the 3rd set. The game that was almost half an hour. One game was half of 7 games set. To me, that was Djokovic just trying to, I'm going to outgrind you. And we've seen him do it against Nadal. It doesn't always work. It's better when Joker is, the supercomputer that's more offensive, looking for opportunities to turn defense into offense quickly and not just be like, we're just going to grind until one of us outlasts the other with sheer will. Anyways, Alcaraz talking a little bit more about how after the French, he didn't believe he could beat Joker in best of 5 in one of these big-time matches.
After Roland Garros semi-final, you said, of course, I was nervous because it was Novak, because it was him, just like if he was superior to you. Did you change something in that point
What
today?
did you change, Carlos?
Yeah, before this match, I thought that I can beat Novak. That's obviously, but
He thought he can't beat Novak. That's obvious. It's hard to understand this guy.
This epic match, let's say, I think different, about Novak in the way that probably in other tournaments, in other Grand Slams, I will remember this moment, and I will think that
needs to be scary to everyone.
I'm ready to play 5 sets against him. Good rallies, good sets, really long long match, and he stayed there physically, mentally, and in
physically and mentally.
Tennis in general. So probably it changed my mind a bit after this match.
He said, "I'm going to remember this." That's the thing that stuck out to me. I'm going to remember this match. And that should scare everybody on tour, because no one wants to go best of 5 with Djokovic anywhere on tour. And now this guy, he knows he can do it, and he knows he's definitely going to be able to beat everyone else in best of 5 format. Let's go back to Joker with some more words of wisdom for the Joker about this epic final. It was a very enjoyable match. It's always stressful when you really want one person to win, and it's a 5-set match. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah, I mean, as I said on the court, I won some epic finals that I was very close to losing. So
he said, "Even Steven,"
kind of a
on the court. Now he uses another
fair
American
and square
rhyme.
deal,
Fair
I
and
guess,
square.
to lose a match like this for me here. Even though, of course, it hurts. It's
great point from Joker
to
there.
lose a close match, but credit to Carlos. Amazing poise
drop a little wisdom
in the
on us
important
soon,
moments for someone of his age to handle the nerves like this and be playing attacking tennis. And to close out the match the way he did. I thought I returned very well that last game, but he was just coming up with some amazing shots.
That 5th set is really impressive. I'm thinking of the one, I can't remember if this is when Joker got broken or when he had a chance to break, but there was one point where Joker runs out wide. He's on the bottom of your TV in this game. That's where the changeover put him on this game. And he runs out, it's definitely in the 5th set. He runs out and he hits a forehand out of the corner and he falls. And he recovers really quickly, and then he's like slides into a backhand as Carlos comes in the net, and he looks like he hits a passing shot. He looks like the shot you've seen a million times where Djokovic hits a pass that is a winner on everyone. Sometimes Nadal comes up with a little magic. Usually Roger Federer would be the person you would think can get out of that, Houdini moment and come up with a little bit of magic. And Carlos did as good as anything I've ever seen Federer come up with at the net. Carlos, lunging off balance, but looking on balance would be off balance for any normal person, right? But lunging in and taking that ball out of the air, such a low and fast ball, awkward angle to net, and comes up with a drop volley winner. That was unbelievable. If you're Djokovic, you just got to think like, for years I've been playing best players in the world, and you don't see him survive that usually. Anyways, like Djokovic said, to put the pedal to the metal, to put the foot on the gas in the 5th set the way Carlos did, it was really incredible. And I hope, for Joker fans out there, I hope I don't sound too defeatist and worried. I'm not one of the people saying Djokovic is done winning forever because now this guy's going to win everything. I think Djokovic will win another major, but I think it's going to be a lot harder, and that's part of what's great about Novak Djokovic. And Patrick McEnroe, Johnny McEnroe, Chris Fowler, they were all saying this. Djokovic is going to be very motivated to work even harder. He's already the hardest worker, but in the past, Djokovic, and this is the big thing for the Joker fans out there. If you want to see Djokovic win some more, this is for you. In the past, Djokovic has Roger and Rafa, at their best or close enough to it to be serious threats to Djokovic, serious competition. And he always works his hardest. And I think it's easier for him not to feel too much fear or nerves because he's not the favorite with those guys. Even when he kind of is, it's a big 3 matchup, one big 3 member versus another. You can never count any of them out. We learned that with no one thought Roger was going to be beating Djokovic and Nadal again. And then 2017, he beats Nadal 4 times in a row, at least 3 times in a row. Was it 5? Federer went on quite a run when he was supposed to be done and not able to beat these guys anymore. So now that Djokovic knows what Carlos really is, because it's hard to say. We didn't really know. Djokovic didn't get to play him that much. It's only the 3rd time they played. And first time's best of 3. Second time is cramps is what finishes the match. And then the 3rd time is this at a place where we're all shocked. And let's listen to Djokovic talk about how shocking it was. But I'll say this. When Alcaraz becomes the favorite, let's say he wins the U.S. Open, we go to the Australian, hopefully people will still say Djokovic is the favorite, but maybe they'll get excited with this Alcaraz mania. He wins Wimbledon, he wins the U.S. Open, let's say. He goes into the Aussie, and maybe they're going to say he's the favorite there. I think when a little pressure comes off of Novak, because the pressure was more on Novak here. Most people Even though I said in the last video, this is the first time since 2019 that we're really not sure who's going to win this major. Most people said Djokovic was going to beat Federer in 2019. Federer obviously proved that he could have won that. It came very close. And most people thought Djokovic was the favorite here to win, but we still knew deep down that this guy is looking pretty dangerous, and this match might be closer than we all think. Anyways, I think when the tables turn and there's more pressure on Alcaraz, it's going to free up Djokovic. His great performances are not over. I do not think Djokovic is done winning Grand Slams. But the math has changed. We have a big 2 right now. We'll see how long it lasts. I hope it lasts for a long time, and I hope some of these other guys can make it a big 3 or a big 4.
I must say that he surprised me, he surprised everyone how quickly he adapted to grass this year.
Yeah,
because he hasn't had too many wins on grass in the last 2 years that he played, and you know, obviously him coming from clay and playing the way, having the kind of a style that he has, you know. I think Queens helped him a lot. He was close to lose that first match, opening match in Queens, and then he just started to gain momentum, more and more wins against really good players. And
yeah,
Wimbledon courts are
slower than
Orangi courts or maybe
things.
Queens courts, so it's, you know, it's more suitable for
court speed.
I guess the baseliners like he is. But I must say, you know, the slices, the you know, kind of chipping returns and the net play, it's very impressive. You know,
we just talked about that.
Didn't expect him to play so well this year on grass, but he's proven that, you know, he's the best player in the world, no doubt. I mean, he's
now that's piggybacking off of what he said on the court. You know, Djokovic joked, and the Joker made a joke in the trophy ceremony, saying something along the lines of, I didn't think I'd have to worry about you on grass yet, just hard courts and clay. So, I mean, this guy's for real, and this is as shocking as a result as we've seen in 20 years. I'd say it's right there at the top. Yeah, Djokovic is 36 and Alcaraz is 20, but that's never been a reason for any of these big 3 guys to lose before. We've seen all kinds of 20-something-year-olds come up short or look like they don't have physically. Remember when Nadal outlasted Medvedev in that U.S. Open 5-set crazy match? And we've seen it before. This is different to have the physical and the mental come together. You know, maybe we thought Alcaraz wouldn't be able to do it after the cramping issue at the French Open. Anyways, I got another clip here of the Joker. Let's see. Let's play this last one. It's a long one. Maybe I won't play the whole thing, but let me see. I can't even remember. Why did I put this here? What did Djokovic say? It is shocking that he won, and I wanted to say that from the last clip. I wonder if Alcaraz hadn't won at Queen's Club, if he would have lost in his first match when he had trouble, would that have changed the result here? Because the scary thing about Alcaraz is he's so good. He's like learning as he goes, right? He's figuring this out as he goes, and he's figuring it out really fast. I'm going to show you just a little slideshow of Alcaraz and Wimbledon in the last few years, and it's kind of interesting. Let's listen to this last clip. I might stop it early. It's a long one, but let's see what Djokovic was saying.
I think people have been talking in the past 12 months or so about his game consisting of certain elements from Roger Ruff and myself.
I'm sure you guys have heard this clip, so I'm not going to play the whole thing, but it's a pretty amazing thing that Djokovic said this. Basically, and you know, I think, I'm trying to remember the first time I started saying stuff like this. I remember talking about Felix Auger in this way, actually, saying you can see pieces of the big 3 mixed up in him. Obviously, Felix hasn't broken through the way Carlos has now, not even close. And you know, we noticed like, yeah, these guys, maybe you have interesting things from the big 3 mixed up in their games, but none of them have like the mental toughness you need to actually break through. And Carlos is the first one to really prove that. I guess Medvedev, you could say too, although he's really from the lost generation, as I call it. This is the next generation, kind of in between. Anyways, it was interesting. He didn't bring up how he was like Federer, but he said the Spanish bull mentality, you know, being willing to just outgrind, that's there, Djokovic said. This is something I saw in the match. You know, you've seen it a million times. Djokovic goes running into the corner and barely gets to a backhand. Sometimes he's sliding, but not always, usually not. Sliding, he usually finishes more. But he'll run in and catch a backhand kind of late, but still close to the baseline. And he'll do that little poke swing up the line And a lot of times it'll be a ball with a lot of pace, and Joker will just get there where you think he's pretty much out of the point, and he'll be able to just poke it up the line and reset the point completely from a defensive position, sometimes even make it go in for a winner if the guy's coming up to net or something like that. And Djokovic was talking about how the sliding backhand, to be able to defend and maintain balance in the backhand, Sinner does it very Djokovic-like too. But he said he sees that in Carlos, and Djokovic kind of smiled actually when he. It's a shame I'm not playing the whole clip because it was interesting to hear Djokovic, kind of admire that little bit of his handiwork. Like, yeah, that's me. I inspired this guy who's obviously, when I'm gone, going to be dominating the tour, and it's a cool thing. I like seeing the big three live on, and it's going to be nice to see some young guys that take a little bit from their games and mix it all up. Anyway, so Djokovic said he's never played a player like this before, and he said, Roger and Rafa, they're great, and they have their weaknesses. And he didn't say Carlos has no weaknesses, but he kind of did. He said that this guy is, you know what, let's just play the rest of the clip. Let's go to... Let's see if this will be where he says it.
He's just, two-handed backhands and defense and being able to adapt. I think that has been my personal strength for many years, and he has it too. So I haven't played a player like him ever, to be honest. Roger and Rafa have their own, obviously, strengths and weaknesses, but Carlos is a very complete player, amazing.
Kind of gives me goosebumps.
Capabilities that I think are a key for longevity and for
winning
a successful career on all surfaces.
This guy is more well-rounded than Roger and Rafa. And he has a little bit of X factor that they have that maybe is not as much in Djokovic's game. Djokovic is kind of saying that this guy is like the perfect tennis player, and maybe he is. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see how that shakes out in the future. I have some clips of Djokovic slipping and falling. I think if you look really carefully at it, let's play it. I want to go frame by frame if we can do that, but let's just play it.
That's the one you talked about, Chuck.
It doesn't look so bad from this angle. When I saw it, they showed a different angle on TV, and it looked worse to me. But obviously, I think this was a factor. I think this hurt Novak a little bit. But I'm not going to take anything away from Carlos. The wind was a factor too, but again... Maybe next year it won't be windy. Maybe they'll close the roof next year. That might, I don't know, though. At the same time, they close the roof, it makes the conditions slower. But who knows? I don't want to make too many excuses. But I do think, let's go frame by frame. This did look like he hyper-extended right there. See that? Where it looks like the knee is bending backwards briefly. Now, the guy's so flexible. He pops out of it. He's probably okay, but... I haven't seen Djokovic spend a lot of time stretching like that after a fall. I mean, we have seen him do that over the years, but he seemed to do it more than usual, than any time I can recall. Anyways, let's do a couple more things, and we'll get out of here. I'm going to go to the stats. This is interesting. I have some comments. I don't know if I have time for it. If we look at the overall stats, I saw someone saying, like, this is Carlos is only winning because Djokovic is playing really bad. I saw this on Twitter. And Djokovic has he's not getting enough first serves in. Well, for the match, he got 64% in. I mean, that's pretty much perfect. Carlos got 63. Winning 62, Carlos winning 70. So the better returner is able to depress the win on first serve numbers and the win on second serve numbers. Djokovic beat Carlos, even though he was down for a while, on the win on second serve numbers by 6%. He lost by 8%, 70 to 62 on first. Net points won, virtually identical. Djokovic came to net 65 times. Break points won, they're tied. This is what blows my mind why I had to put the stats up. Because look at this. This is really weird. Carlos has more than double Djokovic's winners. And unforced errors, they're almost the same. Carlos has 45, Djokovic has 40, but 66 winners to 32. And total points won is 168 for Carlos, 166 for Djokovic. This was a super close match. Now let's go set by set. This first set, I'm going to throw this one out. 7 winners and 9 unforced errors. He still out-hit him with the winners. Djokovic clean 5-2. But let's just say this set is mostly Carlos feeling nerves. I think Joker felt nerves too. The first couple games, didn't Carlos had chances. It's kind of like the beginning of the center match where Joker ends up going up a break and a hold. But I think nerves affected Carlos more. Djokovic felt some nerves, but not like Carlos. That's the story of that set. We look at the second set. Djokovic, yeah, still 60% first serves in, though. That's good. You know, he's making less than Carlos, but his numbers are lower win on first and second. Return points won, obviously, is much higher for Alcaraz, 38-30 here. And then look at the winners. Alcaraz throwing in an incredible 17 winners on 14 in one set. Djokovic 9 and 13. So watch this as we go. 10 winners. So he doesn't have a set quite like that, even though this is the 6-1 set we're now looking at. 10 winners to 9, 6-18 for Djokovic. I think Djokovic is kind of the same with the first. I think Djokovic is losing this set because of mental, especially when he lost that 30-minute game. Now look at this fourth set. Djokovic resets things. Really hurts Alcaraz on second serves. 29% win on second serve for Alcaraz. Djokovic gets in more first serves here, but not much. About the same as his average for the whole match. But he's winning a lot more. Did really well at the net in this game. Just was much more offensive. And you saw the stat earlier about taking balls inside the court. Winning 80%. That's 20% higher than his average for the match. And going to net 15 times. You create a lot of opportunities to go and finish at the net when you're playing that aggressive. And I think Carlos was just able to stop him, make it harder on him to play like that in the fifth set. And Carlos, this is really the story of the match for me. He saves his best set, right? He had 17 winners in the second. He has 18 winners on 5 unforced errors in the fifth set. Djokovic, like I said earlier, just 3 and 3. He kept it clean. He made Carlos earn it, and Carlos earned it and then some. Much respect to Carlos Alcaraz. Incredible performance. And it'll be interesting to see how things shake out. I'm going to be a big 3 guy forever, so I'm going to pull for Djokovic to beat Carlos every time they play. When Djokovic retires, I'll happily root for Carlos. There's, you know, what's not to like about the guy. Anyways, really quick, I saw this comment. Maybe Sinner's going to be better at Wimbledon than Alcaraz. Matt, how are you so wrong on this? This is from Boz11. It's been clear since 2022 that Carlos is going to win multiple majors. Sinner will win 0-3 if he takes care of his body. I had a couple other interesting comments, but maybe we'll do it another time. Anyways, just let me remind you of this. 2019, 16-year-old Alcaraz practices with 8-time champion Roger Federer. He loses in the quarterfinals against Martin Dam. Where's that guy? Why is he not doing well at Wimbledon this year? And then 2020, obviously, we skip it because of the COVID emergency. 2021, Medvedev beats Alcaraz in the second round and then loses to him 6-3, 6-3, 6-3 in the semifinals this year. 2022, Alcaraz goes to the fourth round but loses to good friend Jannik Sinner in 4 sets. And then, of course, today. Hit the music. We're going to get out of here. And of course, there is today where he is our Wimbledon champion, and he has preserved Roger Federer as the greatest Wimbledon player of all time. I'm going to give Djokovic a chance to tie. I would like it if Djokovic and Roger finished tied at 8-all. I'd be fine with Roger having the record. It'd be nice to see Joker win his Australian Open some more. You know, I think maybe that'll be a better matchup. It might be easier to play that kind of tennis like we saw in the fourth set, where using the first serve to set up the follow-up shot, get into net and finish. You know, it's easier on the faster court. Maybe the Australian Open is going to be a better match. But there's no doubt that this is it's hard to call it a rivalry when they said like Federer is much older than Djokovic and Nadal. He's 5 years older than one, 6 older than Djokovic, 5 older than Nadal. This is almost a 20-year age gap. I mean, just 8 years ago was that video where Alcaraz says his goal is to win Wimbledon. That wasn't that long ago. Well, what was Djokovic doing 8 years ago? He was beating Federer in the 2014 finals. Anyways, you saw that. It's amazing that he was hitting with Federer in 2019, and then now he's here. The next time there's a big match, it's that guy who was on the practice court in 2019 that most people didn't know who he was in 2019. I will say I knew who he was because someone had sent me a message saying, look at this guy. He just beat someone in a challenger who's like, 100 in the world or something. And I think he was 14 at the time or 15. Maybe Alcaraz was 15 then. And I was like, okay, I'll try to remember that name. Back then it didn't say Alcaraz. It said like Carlos Garcia. He had like multiple names in there. Kind of like Nadal used to too. Then they shortened the name. Anyways, thanks for joining us for this Wimbledon. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you for watching Coffee Break Tennis. Joker fans, don't worry. I don't think it's over yet. For those of you who wanted to move on or are happy that the Federer's record is preserved, or you don't want to see Djokovic further eclipse the records of Rafa and Roger, congratulations to you, but don't count on that. Joker is certainly not done, and we'll see how things are when the pressure is more on Alcaraz. Regarding Jannik Sinner and only going to win 0-3, maybe that's true. You know, it's too early to say, but you can't fault me. You know, he just beat him at Miami. Carlos Alcaraz beat by Jannik Sinner there. Miami plays, you know, more like Wimbledon, more like the Australian Open. We didn't get to see Carlos at the Australian Open this year. So, you know, he was an unknown going into this match. Djokovic himself, he's a grass court expert, isn't he? He himself said, I never expected Carlos to improve this fast, get this good on grass. I didn't expect him to play like that this year. So we look forward to next year's Wimbledon and see if he can do it again, or if the Joker will get his sweet revenge, something he's done many times over the years against many great opponents. And of course, we will be back for this, what I'm wearing on my shirt right here, Cincinnati. We will get more data. Cross your fingers that we'll get to see Djokovic and Alcaraz meet again in Cincy in just less than a month's time. So we'll see you soon. Me and Pete will be in Cincinnati, right there on the ground to see tennis history unfold. See ya!